Good morning, delegates. As always, I want to start out with gratitude. Gratitude to you, our committed activists. Gratitude for our hard-working and caring members. And gratitude for our strong and outspoken union. Despite a year of stress, anxiety, and loss, we are here as unionists and teachers on our spring break to represent our members, drive our union forward on equity and inclusion, and strengthen our democratic structures. I know every single one of you could use a break, but here you are for 4 solid days of virtual meetings. I could not be more grateful. Thank you for saying yes and for giving up some of your much needed spring break time to be here with each other in this virtual space. Thanks also to our staff and teacher volunteers who have worked so incredibly hard to create an AGM that provides space and time for meaningful debate and engagement. Nothing about this past year has been easy on any of us. In our professional and personal lives, we've all experienced disruption, stress, and trauma. But at the same time, the pandemic has not been experienced equally. Some of our members in workplaces are much less safe than others. Some are living in communities that have higher rates of COVID-19 transmission. Some are trying to protect elderly parents or grandparents who live in their homes. What do all our members have in common? They should have been treated better by government and BC's health officials. When I think back to March and how amazing teachers handled the initial shutdown and then remote learning and then partial in-class instruction in June, I'm reminded of how resilient, hardworking, and committed BC teachers are. But now many of our members are feeling like all that hard work, resilience, and commitment has been taken advantage of. Had the government health officials stuck with the plan that the steering committee and working groups developed last summer, we would have all been better off. But everything changed on June 29th, when the government surprised everyone by announcing their own deeply flawed back-to-school plan. It has been non-stop advocacy ever since, organizing and lobbying as well. The Federation also explored every single legal option to ensure members' rights were protected. But during the pandemic, government has extraordinary powers because of the state of emergency. Legally, they can override and nullify collective agreement provisions. And in addition, we have no employee-employer relationship with the provincial health office or health authorities, who are the ones setting the guidelines. There were very few legal avenues for us to pursue. That's why we turned to the rarely used Section 88 of the Labor Code to ensure our locals had some mechanism to hold school districts accountable for health and safety standards in schools. From that work, we got the troubleshooting process, where locals can take school districts to the Labor Relations Board to resolve disputes regarding the health and safety guidelines. And unlike other processes, districts just can't say no. Through this troubleshooting process, many locals have seen improvements around mask wearing, physical barriers, and cleaning. Without the troubleshooter process, there would be no accountability for school boards whatsoever. Despite the success of getting a troubleshooting process, there are still too many gaps in the safety standards 1 full year into the pandemic. That's why so much of our collective work has been focused on public advocacy. Throughout the pandemic, our calls for stronger mask mandates, more physical distancing, equitable access to remote learning, and improved ventilation have really resonated with families and the public. British Columbians know that teachers have been going above and beyond to keep students and each other safe. Public polling clearly demonstrates this. Through that public advocacy, both the countless media interviews and phone calls with government officials, we've been able to make some important changes. We've been able to make schools safer. I know it hasn't been enough. I know it's frustrating. Sometimes it's been infuriating. It's also been very trying on our representatives at the steering committee and on the working groups. Often, it felt like teachers were alone in pushing for better safety measures, while other education partner groups chose a more passive approach at the steering committee. Others worked together to push for more flexibility and against our efforts to enhance safety. We all owe a huge debt of gratitude to people like Second Vice President Carol Gordon and our staff member Graham Rainey for continuing to go back to the steering committee every single week and never giving up. They, as well as our working group members, are representing the BCTF with strength, resolve, and an unwavering commitment to our members' well-being. Thank you. I also want to thank all the individual members who have been advocating online with parent groups and MLAs. Because of this collective effort, there isn't a day that has gone by without media covering our important issues. We would not have achieved a paid COVID-19 leave or a stronger mask mandate in secondary schools or better access to barriers without that work. And just last week in Surrey, the district was finally given the go-ahead to add some quite modest new safety measures to deal with the high rate of community transmission there. Despite all this work, it hasn't been enough in some areas. Our members in elementary schools still have no protection from a full mask mandate. I know how disappointing and scary that has been for many of you. But I promise you, we won't keep trying. We won't stop keeping trying. We know asserting political influence and making changes takes time. And in this pandemic, we are up against competing interests. The provincial health officer and health officials are rarely moved by public opinion, and the government has been extremely reluctant to take any actions without their sign-off. The frustrating part for teachers is the way our profession and work sites have been treated so differently than others. But I want you to know we won't let up. We won't stop pushing for change. That change includes better access to data, more timely contact tracing, masks in schools, and allowing districts to go above and beyond the provincial safety guidelines. Colleagues, I also want to recognize all the people working in local offices right now. The amount of extra work you have taken on is staggering. Whether it's dealing with uncooperative management, another FSA campaign, members in crisis, or never-ending exposure notifications, our members, your members, have been incredibly well served. Thank you for all your work and the caring you have showed to BC's teachers. As we continue to push for safer working conditions, we're also looking forward to more hopeful times. We got some hope on Thursday when, after months of advocating and a lot of hard work from many people within our union the government announced that the K-12 educators will be prioritized for vaccines in April. The exact details and timelines will be announced in the coming days, and we will make sure members get that information as soon as we do. This is incredibly welcome news, and I hope it helps relieve some of the stress you've been experiencing and the rest of your members have been experiencing. I cannot express how thankful I am for all your activism and advocacy to help make this important decision get made. I have to be honest, the outcome was not guaranteed. We had to push hard to make educators get on the priority list. And I can say that the new Minister of Education, Jennifer Whiteside, was working very hard with us on this one. I hope the news about vaccine prioritization will help ease anxiety and finally help to keep us safer. As we wait for those vaccines to be delivered, we will not let up on our other important demands. We will continue to advocate for stronger mask mandates that include elementary schools, physical distancing, and proper ventilation in both schools and classrooms. In addition, work is already underway to ensure September 2021 is safe and that we keep some of the positive changes that have come from the pandemic response. Let's keep the funding in place for enhanced cleaning. Let's keep daytime custodians in our schools. Let's keep the upgrades to ventilations coming. We know the pandemic won't be over in September. Our members will be protected with vaccines, but COVID-19 will still be circulating among kids and teenagers. The government and health officials need to ensure there are clear definitions of stages. What needs to stay in place and how it will be funded in the fall. That means enhanced cleaning, PPE, clear data, physical distancing, and equitable access to hybrid learning if it's required. Colleagues, I know that this year feels like it's been all about the COVID-19 pandemic. But I want you to know that the BCTF hasn't backed away from the other important aspects of our work. Our members and our union continue to push for positive changes that will address other societal imperatives around us: the climate, racial justice, and the implementation of the United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. One thing the pandemic has shown is that these other issues are all connected as inequities have been further exposed. I'm proud that the BCTF continues our work, even in the times of COVID-19, to make lasting positive changes for our students and our communities. Whether it's speaking out against anti-Asian racism and violence, or promoting Black History Month, and hosting our own issue sessions on racism, the BCTF can be a force for change, and it's our members leading the way. One example of this important work is the recent Representative Assembly Task Force. This group of members, those with and without RA experience, came together to examine our internal structures and our rules of order to make recommendations to ensure our governance bodies are more equitable and inclusive. When their report came to the Executive Committee, we passed 26 recommendations that flowed from that work. There's still lots to do, but I'm proud of the progress that we're making as a union to make our meetings, locals, and entire federation more inclusive. I'm committed to this work, and I know the other executive committee members are committed to this work as well. This spring, we will have our third issues session on racism and our first ever issues session for LGBTQ2S+ members. I'm looking forward to the insights and recommendations these sessions bring forward. Thank you to the members who are volunteering for this critical work. Colleagues, another layer of critical work happening right now at the BCTF is our preparation for the next round of bargaining. Believe it or not, it's just around the corner. And I wanted to share some positive news right off the start. You will remember that the agreement we reached in the spring of 2020 included a Labor Relations Board Section 53 process to help deal with outstanding issues and local bargaining and dispute resolution. Since the end of January, the bargaining team has been hard at work. Jody Polikoshko and I have been the bargaining team's representatives at the table in the Section 53 discussions with BCPC. The talks have been going well, and we are making some progress. This progress has been helped along by new leadership at the top of BCPC. It's been a refreshing change from what we're used to. Part of our goals of the Section 53 process is to set the table for success in the next round of bargaining. We're hoping to ensure there will be more impactful local bargaining, better timelines, a workable dispute resolution mechanism, and more matters for local parties to bargain. Another aspect of the Section 53 process is addressing the issues many locals have had around best efforts. We're looking for a process that prioritizes contract compliance. If we can get an agreement on this part of the Section 53 process, our members will receive another 1% salary boost this July. Guarantees of preparation time for adult educators and all secondary teachers within the bookends of the day are also part of the discussions. And those discussions are slated at this point to go until May. Today, I can also tell you that we have a tentative agreement with BCPC on local bargaining timelines and a dispute resolution mechanism for local tables. We are cautiously optimistic that we will make further progress as well, but there's still a lot of work to do. And of course, any agreement will go through a ratification vote. We will have more details for you very soon, and more details for all members about the progress that we're making at the table. With a successful Section 53 process, we will be able to hit the ground running in the next round of bargaining on our key issues. We know it's not going to be an easy round. The pandemic has created a massive deficit for this government, and you can imagine them trying to contain costs, again, in public sector bargaining. We'll be working closely with the BC Federation of Labour to make sure the NDP government doesn't jump to austerity budgets following the pandemic. Because when we start bargaining, we need to make sure we get changes that will make a real difference in teachers' working conditions. That means addressing the teacher shortage that has become so much worse during the pandemic. Making sure adult educators and distributed learning teachers have the same rights as everyone else. Establishing or improving class size and composition language in every part of the province. It's going to be a tough round, especially on the heels of a pandemic. But the work is already underway. Since December, we've been hard at work with our advertising team, getting a new campaign ready. We conducted our very own public opinion survey and several focus groups with parents. We heard that teachers are still the most respected voices in education. And parents are very supportive of everything our members have been doing to support students. But the tough public relations fight we have had to take on during the last round of bargaining and the pandemic have taken their toll. The results of this research and creative thinking is a positive, hopeful campaign that connects the value of our work to the impact we have on students and their families. The campaign is designed as stage one in a multi-year plan to support bargaining. It will set us up for more direct asks or harder hitting ads in the fall and winter if we need them. As the campaign unfolds, you will see some of our members featured on global news, social media shareables, and on TV that picks up where our last ad left off. Today we've got a sneak peek for you. We'll play our new ad back-to-back twice.
What a year. I'm worried about how my kids are doing through all this, but I've gained a new appreciation for school, that's for sure. My kids' teachers have been there for them, trying to keep them safe, finding new ways to connect, and doing their best to meet the needs of every student. The challenges, they're bigger than ever. But my kids, their teachers, they're worth investing in.
A message from the BCTF.
What a year. I'm worried about how my kids are doing through all this, but I've gained a new appreciation for school, that's for sure. My kids' teachers have been there for them, trying to keep them safe, finding new ways to connect, and doing their best to meet the needs of every student. The challenges, they're bigger than ever. But my kids, their teachers, they're worth investing in.
A message from the BCTF.
Our kids and their teachers, worth investing in during a pandemic and after. Colleagues, we have timed the ad so it will lead up to the provincial government's budget announcement. You'll see the ads on TV, online, and on your streaming devices at home. And then in the fall, we will launch stage 2 and keep going until bargaining is complete. Right from the very beginning, our ad campaign will be designed to support bargaining and be responsive to how things proceed. Colleagues, thank you once again for being here for this virtual AGM. I know the virtual experience is not ideal, but we will still have robust debate and make a lot of important decisions for our members and our union. I also want to take a moment to thank table officers Clint Johnston and Carol Gordon and all the members at large for their work during this time. It has been such a challenging year for everyone. I wish you all the best here at this meeting and on your spring break. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.